Ladies and gentlemen, our parade is officially underway. Up first, internationally renowned as one of the world's finest professional music organizations, the United States Army Band, Pershing Zone. They are the premier music organization of the U.S. Army, our nation's most senior service. Stationed at Joint Base Meyer-Henderson Hall, Virginia, it plays an important musical role in events of national and international significance. They were founded back in 1922 by Army Chief of Staff John J. Pershing. They're led today by Colonel Bruce R. Pulver and Drum Major Rob Moore. Today, Pershing Zone is playing a melody entitled "The Army Goes Rolling Along." This was actually written in 1908 by the then Lieutenant Edmund Louis Snitz Gruber, which was a descendant of Franz Gruber, who composed Silent Night. It was originally written to be the 5th Artillery Regimental song titled "The Caissons Go Rolling Along," and in 1956 the lyrics were revised by Harold Arberg as the official song of the U.S. Army, and then retitled "The Army Goes Rolling Along." Pershing Zone carries on its century-old legacy, playing a march that brings pride to every soldier, the Army Song. The 3rd Infantry Regiment is the oldest active duty unit in the U.S. Army. Established back in 1784, the unit was dubbed the Old Guard by Major General Winfield Scott during a victory parade in Mexico City after the Mexican War. It is the U.S. Army's official ceremonial unit and presidential escort, conducting year-round tactical training to ensure the highest standards and utmost discipline of its soldiers. The unit routinely represents the U.S. Army and our nation in official ceremonies, major sporting events, and their own, the U.S. Army's own Twilight Tattoo. The 1775, the shot heard round the world at Lexington and Concord sparked a revolution, uniting 13 colonies and forging a continental army from farmers and frontiersmen. Against the odds, they turned the tide at Trenton and Saratoga, survived Valley Forge, and at Yorktown forced a British surrender, securing independence and giving birth to the United States of America. Before radios and field phones, sound was the signal. In the Continental Army, fifes and drums carried commands across the chaos of battle, telling soldiers when to advance, when to retreat, eat, even when to rest. That legacy actually lives on today with the U.S. Army Fife and Drum Corps, part of the 3rd Infantry Regiment known as the Old Guard. Founded back in 1960, they're the only unit of their kind in the armed forces. Performing in uniforms patterned after those worn by General Washington's musicians. Playing period instruments with patriotic precision, they bring history to life, sharing the sound and spirit of the Revolution through more than 500 performances each year, both at home and around the world too. The Old Guard, Fife and Drum Corps, everybody. For brutal years, nearly 2 million soldiers fought to preserve the Union. Among them, 5 future presidents and the first recipients of a brand new military decoration, the Medal of Honor. With independence won, our nation's westward expansion began. The Army moved in step, guarding settlers as native scouts lit the way. Immigrants joined the cause, and the Buffalo Soldiers etched a legacy of grit and honor across the American frontier. From Port Cavazos, Texas, home of legends, the 1st Cavalry Division rides with pride. Born from the thunder of horse cavalry traditions of the Civil War, the 1st team forged its reputation on the front lines of history. They stormed Manila with the flying column, charged into Pyongyang as the first to breach the line and face the brutal crucible of Ia Drang, the first of 13 named campaigns in Vietnam where they proved their mettle. Today, that same warrior spirit lives on. You'll know the name, and you'll know them by their iconic cav hats, elite soldiers, and cutting-edge equipment. Tough, fit, fearless. The 1st Cavalry Division is a lethal, disciplined force that stands ready to fight and win anywhere, anytime, and the legacy rides on. This is the Cav. We continue on with more USA World War I rolling stock. This 1918 Dodge touring car was part of the legendary 1919 Transcontinental Convoy. 3,251 miles and 62 grueling days across the Lincoln Highway. Now remember, no pavement, no GPS, and no power steering. Just grit, determination, and the drive to push Army mobility into the future. This car literally helped pave the way for the roads we rely on today and reminds us when the Army moves, the nation follows. The 1918 Dodge touring car. Representing the World War I era is the 82nd Airborne Division, based out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina. You'll notice the unit is wearing replica World War I uniforms signifying the soldiers who served our nation during this time. When the Americans entered the Great War, our soldiers under the command of General Blackjack Pershing hit the trenches in the new standard. It was the olive drab winter service uniform. Now on their heads you'll see a steel helmet with sand-textured paint built to deflect deadly shrapnel from above. Not bulletproof, but battle tough. Nicknamed the Pershing boot, on their feet was the M1 1918 French boot. It was designed to survive the brutal grind of trench warfare. And on their backs, the field pack, rations, ammo, first aid, and a gas mask. Everything a doughboy needed to fight and to win. From Fort Bragg, North Carolina, this is the 82nd Airborne Ceremonial Band. The 82nd received the nickname All-Americans after a contest as it represented the diverse origins of its members from every state. This name remains today symbolized by their iconic AA patch. Fort Bragg's finest, ladies and gentlemen. Give them a big round of applause, the 82nd Airborne Ceremonial Band. In a global fight like World War II, the U.S. Army knew our troops needed more than courage. They needed innovation. Uniforms evolved for every environment, but olive drab remained the mark of the American soldier. Shaped by lessons from the trenches of World War I, the Army introduced two battlefield essentials: the M1 helmet, tough, stable, and built to protect under fire, and the M1 Garand rifle, powerful and fast. It gave American troops a very clear edge. General George S. Patton called the M1 rifle the greatest battle implement ever designed, and history proved him right. The 82nd Airborne Division. The unit is best known for their bravery on D-Day, when 12,000 parachute and glider troops destroyed German supply lines after fighting for 33 days straight. The 101st Airborne Division, based out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky, traces its lineage back to 1918 when it first established as the 101st Division. Known for their ability to rapidly deploy across the world, the unit has held a crucial role in operations since its inception. From parachuting behind enemy lines on D-Day to leading helicopter assaults in Vietnam, the 101st redefined modern warfare. In the 50s, the Screaming Eagles stood tall at home, protecting the Little Rock Nine during the fight for civil rights. In recent decades, they've been sent across the world with stints as far as the Middle East, where they took part in Operation Desert Storm and participated extensively in the war on terrorism in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Screaming Eagles continue to lead the way as tomorrow's division in today's Army. The iconic Sherman tank is here, ladies and gentlemen. It was the cornerstone of the U.S. Armed Forces, showing its military might in World War II. It became one of the most influential tank designs of the 20th century. The M4 tank was nicknamed the Sherman tank after Civil War General William Tecumseh Sherman. Actually, it was named by the British. With almost 50,000 produced during World War II, the Sherman tank was in active service until 1957. In World War II, the M16 half-track was a force to be reckoned with. It was a self-propelled anti-aircraft weapon with speed, firepower, and grit. Nicknamed the meat chopper, its quad 50 caliber mount could unleash 2,300 rounds a minute. Quite devastating. It served through Korea, Vietnam, and beyond, and remains in use in U.S. allies to this day. The M16 half-track brings the fight wherever it rolls. The U.S. Army Transportation Corps motto states, "Nothing happens until something moves." That was never more true than with this. Look at this, the 2.5-ton Chevrolet Deuce and a Half. It can move up to 10,000 pounds of cargo and was the backbone of the Red Ball Express that kept the Allies supplied after D-Day in World War II. The 1st Cavalry Division Band, based out of Fort Cavazos, Texas, has played a vital role in U.S. military history. Since its origins back in 1855 as the band of the 2nd Cavalry, it has supported operations from the Civil War to Desert Storm. Over time, it's evolved into a powerful force using music to strengthen bonds between soldiers and engage with communities. From World War II in Korea to the Vietnam War in Bosnia, the 1st Teen Band has enhanced morale and upheld the division's enduring legacy. Today, the band continues its mission using music to shape perceptions, foster trust, and promote national army and division interests. Standing ready to serve, it remains an enduring symbol of the 1st Cavalry Division's legacy and commitment to duty. The band performs "Hit the Leather and Ride" on march composed by Captain Robert Meredith Wilson. This piece reflects the cavalry's transition from horses to mechanized warfare, capturing the speed, the resilience, and the tradition of the division. From Fort Cavazos, Texas, everybody, the 1st Cavalry Division Band. The U.S. Army deployed large numbers of troops in support of the Vietnam War. The first contingent of U.S. Army advisors arrived in Vietnam in the late 1950s, and that quickly grew to a small team of around 100 soldiers, which then expanded to more than 600 over the next decade. As the war intensified, troops' numbers quickly grew as the war between the South Vietnamese government and the communist insurgents supported by North Vietnam intensified. By January 1969, more than 364,200 soldiers organized around 7 divisions and 20 separate combat brigades. The United States began withdrawing its forces in July of 1969, and the last Army combat unit left South Vietnam in August of '71. The last U.S. combat soldier came home March 1973, while a small number of non-combat personnel remained until April 1975. Representing the Vietnam War era is the 101st Airborne Division based out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky. The unit is wearing replica Vietnam War uniforms signifying the soldiers who served our nation during this time. Blistering heat, thick humidity, and unforgiving terrain demanded uniform innovation, and the Army, they delivered. New lightweight uniforms were constructed to move with the soldier. The M16 replaced the M1 Garand, calling for redesigned ammo gear and faster reloads in combat. Body armor got smarter, jackets and trousers got lighter, and field equipment was reimagined to meet the mission head-on. Gone were the heavy Mickey Mouse boots, replaced by canvas tropical combat boots that offered better grip, faster drying, and all-day endurance. Special thanks to our sponsor, Oracle. When Saddam Hussein From Fort Riley, Kansas, this is the 1st Infantry Division, one of the Army's most storied divisions. Nicknamed the Big Red One because of the distinctive red on their unit patch. As the oldest continuously serving division in the U.S. Army, the unit has participated in every major operation since World War I, living up to its motto, no mission too difficult, no sacrifice too great, duty first. The 1st Infantry Division was originally established as the 1st Expeditionary Division in 1917 and spearheaded the American Expeditionary Forces in France during World War I. In World War II, the Fighting First stormed Omaha Beach on D-Day and liberated Nazi concentration camps. The highly decorated unit has had 37 members of the Big Red One awarded the Medal of Honor. In Washington, D.C., the 1st Division Monument stands in President's Park, memorializing those who died while serving in the 1st Infantry Division. Ladies and gentlemen, they are the Big Red One, the 1st Infantry Division. More military rolling stock. During Operation Desert Storm, the M2 Bradley fighting vehicle proved its value on the battlefield. It is fast, it is tough, and it is lethal. Named for General Omar Bradley, a leader from West Point's famed class of 1916, the Bradley was built to carry troops into combat with protection and power. Armed with a 25mm chain-driven cannon and twin-tube launched optically tacked wire-guided missiles, it played a critical role in clearing the way during the ground assault into Iraq. While the Paladin looks and sounds like a tank, it is technically a self-propelled howitzer and was first introduced back in the 1960s. Over the years, it's been upgraded to perform in versatile battlefields from Vietnam to the Soviet Union to Iraq. Now, let's roll on to the future of Army readiness. The Army Research Laboratory robot dogs reflect the latest in Army innovation. Look at this. Much like a true canine, these robots can go where soldiers cannot. They have increased mobility, improved tactical awareness, reduced risk to soldiers, and enhanced teamwork. Replacing soldiers, robot dogs can explore terrain that may be difficult for soldiers to traverse, dispose of explosive ordnance, and act in defensive posture or aggressive capacity when armed. The Ghost Robot Dog is another innovation that can adapt seamlessly for various missions from recon to bomb recognition. These dogs reduce risk and support soldiers completely in high-stakes missions. They have a standard walk speed of 2 miles per hour and are working towards 6.7 miles per hour sprint. As the oldest continuously serving Army band and the oldest unit at West Point, this is the United States Military Academy Band, ladies and gentlemen. The West Point Band traces its history to a single drummer and fifer appointed by George Washington during the American Revolution. Over the next 2 centuries, this band evolved into one of the most capable and versatile performing groups in the world. One of the most prestigious institutions in the world where leadership is forged and duty becomes destiny. This is West Point, where Army leaders are made. With the motto of duty, honor, and country, West Point trains the best and brightest to serve their country as Army officers. Founded back in 1802 by President Thomas Jefferson, West Point is the home of the Long Gray Line, a legacy of courage and excellence that includes 77 Medal of Honor recipients, 2 U.S. presidents, Grant and Eisenhower, and numerous generals, including John J. Pershing, Douglas MacArthur, and Norman Schwarzkopf. Upon entering the United States Army, all recruits undergo initial entry training, a highly intense and a challenging training period aimed at developing a soldier's physical and mental toughness, instill discipline, train them in essential combat skills, and foster teamwork. IET transforms civilians into soldiers based on the 7 core Army values: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. The Virginia Military Institute, on a mission to produce citizen soldiers, men and women educated for civilian life, prepared to serve their country in the armed forces. VMI counts a Nobel Prize winner, 11 Rhodes Scholars, generals, 7 Medal of Honor recipients, and a Pulitzer Prize winner among its graduates. As one of the nation's senior military colleges, students at Virginia Military Institute can participate in Army ROTC or the Corps of Cadets. While cadets in the Corps can serve in any branch of the United States military or pursue other careers, those in Army ROTC earn their commission as officers, ready to serve on active duty in the National Guard or Army Reserve. Each year, the Army Senior ROTC Blue Ridge Battalion commissions approximately 130 second lieutenants, ensuring that excellence in leadership continues in generations to come. The Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina, offers students the opportunity to participate in Army ROTC or the Historic Corps of Cadets. Founded in 1842, the Citadel is the third oldest of the senior military colleges and is known for its Corps of Cadets living and studying under a classical military system that makes leadership and character development essential. While military service is not required at graduation, more than 120 students earn their commission each year through the Army Senior ROTC Palmetto Battalion, playing a vital role in shaping the future. As one of the nation's senior military colleges, Texas A&M University is home to both Army ROTC and the renowned Corps of Cadets. The Corps of Cadets' central purposes has remained building individuals that exemplify respect, excellence, leadership, loyalty, integrity, and selfless service. Students at the university who participate in the Army ROTC earn their commission as officers ready to serve on active duty in the National Guard or Army Reserve. Each year, the Army Senior ROTC Warrior Training Battalion at Texas A&M proudly commissions more than 90 second lieutenants and is honored to shape the future leaders of the U.S. Army. In a powerful display of commitment, these future soldiers will raise their right hand and take an oath of enlistment, pledging to serve our nation.